Well, hello, Team Healthy. How you guys doing today? Hope you're having a great day. We're doing just fine right here in Waco, Texas. By the way, I hope you saw on if you signed up for my newsletter. I hope you saw that picture of me in my backyard watching the eclipse last week. Eclipse, and there was a picture on there of the sun in full eclipse mode. That was taken in my backyard by my son-in-law, and that was pretty cool. Anyway, that was last week, but we're still just jumping for joy here in Waco that we were in that zone of a full eclipse. So anyway, I thought I'd just throw that in. Hey, just FYI, on an informative note, we're real close to bringing my newest online course to up to speed. That's going to be available to you. It's the 17th now. We're looking at maybe the first week or so of May that it's going to become available. And this is one of these courses that's 27 videos, and then each video has all the documents that go along with it. I mean, and it's called Anger Games, and it's all about how you can see a person's narcissism most clearly when they're in conflict and anger with you, and then how they try to suck you in. And we're going to get into all sorts of details on that. And I know that I'm not able to continue on with therapy with people such as yourself. But this is my way of trying to bring you into my therapist mindset so that you can get my therapist benefits. And so it's a full on course. It'll take a little bit of time, but I hope that it's something you'll enjoy, and get a lot from, and it's something that I pour my heart into. So just know that. And by the way, I'm drinking some spiced tea here today. This is my turmeric, ginger turmeric tea. It's my favorite. And I want you to go to Spice and Tea Exchange, New Albany, Indiana. Spice and Tea Exchange, New Albany, Indiana. Go to their website, give them some business. Okay. This stuff is great. I put honey in it and all. It's real good for my voice. Y'all have known. We finally figured out. I've just got this really, really nasty case with allergies, and we're taking a pretty aggressive approach right now. And when I'm not doing this, I'm resting my voice as much as I can. So just know that I enjoy doing this too much to say no to it. Okay, today we're going to be talking about the question: how far should you push it with a narcissist? You all have sent me so many questions about, well, what do I do when they're this way, or when they don't do that, or when they are disagreeable? How far do I push it? What's the degree that I need to just keep going after them, or do I just quit and stop? So we're going to be looking at some questions that reflect that kind of thinking. And by the way, those of you who are new, go to the go. You can put your questions in the comment section below. I'll pick up on them, and that's what's going to constitute next week's live feed. And so that's how we do it here. So just know that I love to have your participation. It allows me to know where you're coming from. The first question that we have today, this person says, my husband has a troubled, vengeful, narcissistic mom who has disowned him, discarded him, and slandered him to anyone who would listen. He has a deep need for some kind of closure and has wondered about an intervention style meeting with her and her friends and family where he has a chance to be heard. What about an intervention with a narcissist? Would it be a good idea or a bad idea? Okay, let me just get some votes from you here. Those of you who are in the live chat, good idea or bad idea when you have something like this. Now, this person who's asking the question is thinking like a non-narcissistic person. Good for you. You're making the assumption, well, I know that I'm going to try to my best to be reasonable. Surely this person will. I'm going to do my best to try to lay things out and is with a lot of considerations in mind about how this is going to be good for all of us. Surely that narcissist will appreciate what I have to say. If you're at the point where you've already been disowned, discarded, and slandered, and I'm making the assumption you've probably had literally hundreds of conversations with this person, thinking, well, maybe this will be the breakthrough. Maybe this, we can try to work it through and get some sense. And here you are again, and it's as bad as it is, and you're thinking, well, how about one more time? We'll call it an intervention, so that kind of gives it that much more gravitas. And so I think if I can do that intervention, maybe we're going to break through. And if you had hundreds of conversations and this is the net result, I don't mean to be too sarcastic, but I mean, I'm being a little sarcastic. I think we can call this a trend. Okay. And the trend is not likely to end with one more really good, well spoken intervention. Unfortunately, there's one thing you have to remind yourself with narcissists, and that is they live inside what we refer to as their own alternate reality. Which means they make up truth to suit their narrative in whatever way it requires. And there's an uncanny ability that they have for rationalization and blame shifting or denial. And and if it makes you feel any better, I've actually had a couple of people in my life where I've tried to have those sit downs, and one person in particular I'm thinking of that was somewhat recent, where I tried to have those sit downs. These people inside my family and say, "Look, we've got some stuff that we really need to talk about." And I felt like I was being as fair as I could be, and I actually thought in the moment, at least not they're not arguing back. But then a week later, or next day, or a month later, back to the same old stuff. And even a guy like me, I'm a kind of seasoned old veteran. You think, well, I just hate to let go. And yet there are simply times when it's like, but that alternate reality that they have and all of the rationalizations that go along with it has such a stronghold on most of these individuals that you have to ask, well, what's most likely to play out? My dream, my wishes, or hard reality, which is more likely? And as much as you want to dream about that nice, you know, come back together kind of a mindset, you have to take a look. What does hard reality say? Is this going to be the one time out of many hundreds that that person is going to say, well, okay, at this point in my life, I relent? Most of them, and when I say most, 99.99%, it's if it's that deep into the game, you're going to have to let go. So, should I go with an intervention? My heart goes out to your husband because I know that he's hurting. He'd like to have a mother in his life. And I'm going to assume that, he's thinking about her end days, and you don't want it to end poorly. You want to have at least some sense of closure. Sometimes the best closure you can have is to say, well, despite the influences that that person has had in my life, I can move forward knowing that I have given it my best shot, and then I've learned many good lessons from the negative experiences that I've had. And I'm going to take my experiences and I'm going to be a better person. And that's where some of your closure comes from. Focus on the fact that despite all of the negatives that have been there, you still have your sanity intact and your decency, your dignity intact, and that's your best way to move forward. You hate to be negative, but I'm not going to call it negative. As yes, it is, but as much as just let's be realistic. Okay, now this next one. What are the best questions to ask a narcissist if you want to agitate them for a change? And I chuckle. It's like, oh, there's a lot of them. If you want to agitate them, what color's the sky today? That may be enough. What are the best questions to ask the narcissist if you want to agitate them for a change? Okay, let me just throw some things out, and then I've got more out of an absurdity. For example, you might say, "Would you like to be a little less angry today?" Or "Can you see how inappropriate you are?" Or "Do you want your children to know that they had an awful father?" Or "Do you realize how many people dislike the way you treat them?" You could ask them those kind of questions, and sure enough, that'll agitate them. Where are we going with that? So basically, it's like, okay, this person has kicked me in the shins a whole lot. What would be the most effective way for me to kick that person in the shins? And, we go back to how far do you push it with the narcissist? Give them a taste of their own medicine. And I am such a proponent of the opposite of that kind of thinking. I acknowledge that you don't like the way the narcissist treats you, and it creates a lot of emotion. We're going to give you that because every one of us that's here right now on this channel thinking about this, we can all nod our heads and say, "Oh yeah, it's no good." Where's the logic? Where's the reason in saying, "So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to be just like that narcissist in my response." that's going to show that I am ahead of the curve. And I'm thinking, no, it doesn't. All that shows is that the narcissist has gotten inside your head, and now that person has become your chief counsel, if you will. And you're now on their turf trying to play their game. And oh, by the way, they're very good at their game, much better than you, I hope, would be. So where are you going with this? How can I make them feel agitated? They're already agitated. It's just the state of mind. And so my thinking is, when you see that, it's like, I have no need whatsoever to play that game. What I will do is I'll have my decency, and then I'm going to drop any kind of hope that that person is going to say thank you so much, because they're not. But the best way to agitate them is to have calm confidence and to have peace and to treat people well. And they're going to think, ah, you're just a phony, you're no good. Okay, that agitates them. Good, whatever. But at the same time, it's like, no, I don't embrace that. I don't endorse it in the least, to say, well, let me find the place in your shin that hurts the most. I'm going to kick right there. That'll show you. Not my style. Not even a little bit. Okay, maybe every now and then you think about it, but no. All right. Now, okay, here's another one that I'm sure that many of you have, well, some of you anyway, particularly with covert narcissists, have dealt with. Here's the question. Dr. C, have you ever addressed how a covert confrontational narcissist actually does apologize for behavior that you've brought to their attention, but simply to draw you back into a place where they can go back into their own pattern? And the answer is, oh, yeah. You've actually said, hey, look, there's something you've done, and you got to admit you were wrong. And they say, I know, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. And you're thinking, maybe we can get somewhere with this. Have you ever heard of the term breadcrumbing? That's when the narcissist will drop little morsels of bread and goodies along the way to kind of bring you back, and they'll try to make you think, hey, I'm with you. I'm going to give you good things. I'm going to give you insight. I'm going to give you awareness. I'll be fair. They drop those little morsels at you. Sometimes that includes the apology. And then it's like, well, when the coast is clear, when the fog is all gone, and now we're back to our normal state, here comes that strong narcissistic person all over again. It's like, what happened to that apology that you gave yesterday or 2 weeks ago or 10 minutes ago? And the sad thing is that narcissists have so much of an in the moment kind of a mindset. And when I say in the moment, they don't think very deeply about their past and all that's gone on there that has led them to where they are and the trouble they're in. And they certainly don't think about where this is headed in the future. Like, where's this going to take me? All they're thinking of is, I'm in a pickle right now. And I've got to figure out how to get out of my pickle right now. And if saying whatever it is you need to hear me say is, I thought that was Gus coming in. If saying whatever it is you need to hear me say is going to work, then I'm willing to do that. And so, what do you do when they do that? It's just like, unfortunately, you have to learn how to read them and know don't make your decisions about where you are with them based on one episode. Look at what the body of evidence says, and then make your decisions based on that. When we talk about some of the primary ingredients of narcissism, we're talking about obviously high control and low empathy, and the need to be superior and things of that nature. But one of the biggest indicators, in fact, the single biggest indicators, is the willingness of the narcissist to exploit and manipulate. It's one thing. Every one of us has our moments where we can be selfish and controlling, and then we can correct that pretty quickly, I hope. But the person that says, well, I'm willing to figure out what's the manipulative scheme that's going to work on my behalf today, right now, that's the narcissist. And so even when they put a smile on their face and they dress it up with an apology and they say, hey, I'll never do that again, it's just like, at least not the next 3 seconds. You're dealing with a classic manipulator. And so just know that, and know that that's their gig. That's what they do. And then make your adjustments accordingly. They do whatever suits themselves in the now. And then in the future, it's like, I'll figure that out. And if it means reverting, I'm willing to do that. it's pretty cynical to say something like that, but at the same time, it's accurate typically. Okay, and this is another one that I know that many of you have the situation. How many of you decided, I need to stay away from that narcissistic person, and I need to just keep them out of my life, but something comes along and you just can't avoid them, whether it's a funeral or a wedding or a meeting at work, and everybody's there. You just can't get away from it, which is why you'll notice that I tend not to give broad sweeping, go no contact kind of solutions to everything. I mean, it'd be nice to do that, but sometimes you just can't avoid it, and I get that. So this person is asking, how do I handle attending an extended family function where the difficult person in quotation marks will be? I'm pretty nervous, and she'll lie into me, since recently I have estranged myself. So there's a real strong possibility that as you engage with that person, that when they see that you've already pulled back, you've got a group of people that you're dealing with, you're probably already the object of that person's advanced smear campaign. Let's suppose this person's name is Nancy, and the narcissist may say, "Well, I think Nancy's going to be here," and you know how troublesome she is, and she's such a divisive person. They've probably already done that. And so in addition to that, they may say or do something while you're in the same presence with one another that's going to make you feel awkward. Sometimes that they may say, "Oh, it's you," or something of that nature. Many times they may just think, "Well, the best thing I can do is completely ignore you." I've had so many stories where someone came told me that they were at an event, and they said something like, "Hi, Aunt Maud, how's it going?" And Aunt Maud just looked at them and just walked off. It's like, poof, you don't exist. I mean, it could be something like that, or they may say something sarcastic to you. It's like, you look like you put on about 10 pounds. So who knows? Who knows? So how should you handle yourself? Um, Remind yourself that you're dealing with somebody whose strategy for a successful life is to demean other people. Okay, my strategy for a successful life includes demeaning other people when they're in my path. That's not a winning combination or formula. That's the mark of somebody who doesn't get it. And so at some point, you have to ask, do I really have to have that person's endorsement? And if people are willing to listen to that individual and go along with whatever they have to can believe in without checking in with me, do I have to have their endorsement? And I'm hoping you can get to the point of saying, I'm just going to trust myself, and I'm going to be me. I'll bide my time if I have to. I'm assuming there are other people there that you would like to be with, and so you can enjoy your time with them and then move on your way. And sometimes it's that awkward kind of stuff, but I'm hoping you can decide. If it means that I have to, you know that person is continuing to think ill of me. I did a video a while back about living inside that awkward, ambiguous space. I can't remember the title of it now, but sometimes you just have to learn how to stay inside that tension and know it's awkward. I don't like it, but there it is. And I'm just going to make it through because my character is good. And so my one question is, do you trust yourself? Do you believe in your inherent decency? And if the answer is yes, then proceed. If the answer is no, then you got some work to do. But at the same time, just continue to move forward. So anyway, okay. Here's another question that's of a similar nature, and I put these two back to back so we can get to it this way. This person asks, "Do covert narcissists try to break the people you care about to get to you?" The answer is yes. I heard about them using flying monkeys to get to you, but do they use their vengeance and smarts by hurting those you care about to get you back to submit to their control? Now, this could be something like, you've got someone in the family that doesn't like you, so they treat your children poorly. Or this could be a group of friends where you've got some individuals you really enjoy their company, and you have this person now that feels like they're estranged, and so they try to sabotage you to your group of friends. Or it could be someone at work. On and on we go. And so, yes, a lot of times they'll try to get to that other person, make them squirm, and then they can very easily say, a lot of the problems in your life happen when you associated with this person over here, meaning you. And so it's their way of trying to bring you down by bringing them down and making them hurt and question and all of that. Do you know what that tells me? Have you ever heard of narcissistic envy? That's what this is. It's their way of saying, I can't, I just feel so envious that you have the friends that I don't have, that you have the reputation that I wish that I had, and you've walked away from me, and you seem to be doing okay, and it really bothers me that you're all right. So what I'll do is I'll try to go to them and bring them down so that it'll destroy you. But that's their envy. You have something I wish that I could have, and so I'm going to try to diminish that. And it's like that's pitiable, as opposed to saying, "Hey, you know what? We all could use a good friend." Or every one of us it's nice to know that we have people and circumstances where they appreciate our good intentions and efforts. I'm glad for you. Narcissists can't think that way. It's like, well, you have people over there on your side, and they ought to be on my side. I can't stand it. Give me what you have, and I want to take it. So that's what envy is. It's a possessiveness kind of thing. You possess something that I wish to possess for myself. There's so many subcategories here, aren't there? And subplots. And so then the question is, how far do you push it? And the answer is, you can confront them. But the bottom line is your best alternative is always going to be good character. Okay, now the next question. This is very basic, and I get many renditions of this question. And that is, how did these individuals get stuck in their development? And I'm actually going to have a video coming up pretty soon about some of the things that keep narcissists stuck where they are, some of their blind spots that they have. But how do they get stuck? There's a term that I've been using. It's one of my Les Carterisms for over 40 years that I refer to as trained incompetence. Um, Way back in my graduate school days, I learned a lot about child therapy, knowing I wasn't going to be practicing child therapy in my major practice as I got away and began establishing myself. But as part of getting that well-rounded sense of where the field is, and one of the things that you want to do with little kids is you want to teach them how to be competent on many, many different levels. I mean, it can be something simple like a little 5-year-old can't open up the peanut butter jar. You have jacks or something like that in there that they can play with. And they say, I can't do this. And I might say something like, that's something you can figure out. And they do it. And then when they do it, you say, hey, there, you did it. You tried. But then on a much deeper level, as they age and when they get more sophisticated in their thinking, what you can then do is you can begin talking with them about their choices and alternatives. When someone talks to you this way, there's all sorts of options you have. Let's lay that out on the table. What are your options? And you discuss the bad options with the good options. And then you talk about the consequences and the net result that goes with each one of the choices that you might have in front of you. And that's what I refer to when I talk about training competence into a child. And then when they get older in their teen years and abstract thinking begins to kick in, you address it as closely related to their values and principles and standards, and that can continue on even as you're talking with them in their adult years, and you take it on a fuller basis. That's trained competence. Narcissists don't have that. Instead, they're reactors, and if anybody did try to sit down and talk with them about the healthy alternatives, they scorned it pretty quickly because they tend to have a harsh cynicism. Chances are they didn't have a lot of it themselves. I didn't have much of it when I was growing up. Makes you feel any better. But over time, I began realizing, well, I need to get it. And hopefully you'll have that. Some folks, they never do think that way. And so how did narcissists get to be this way? It's just like, relating with one another requires just as much training and planning and all, just like learning how to do math. Let's sit down and figure out what the formulas are. Let's make it a little bit more complicated. The same thing with emotions, and most people don't have that education. I wish like crazy that would be brought into various venues so that more and more of that kind of thinking can be there. And it's out there, but not enough people take advantage of it. As a grandparent, one of the things that I do, I love buying books for my granddaughter who's not quite 6 yet. That talk about personal values and things like that, and it's good. They need that, and they need it on a long term, steady way. And narcissists almost never got it. Sometimes they're so naturally predisposed towards their meanness anyway that even the efforts that you might make are not going to go in too much. Okay. All right. This next person, this goes back to our theme. How far do you push it with a narcissist? How do you respond to a narcissist who insists that you are controlling? As honestly as I can determine, I try to be open minded, but he is so, multiple O's, so opinionated and selfish. So here you are. You're engaging with this person that is very strongly opinionated, very strongly selfish, which are, of course, the core ingredients that prompt them to be very controlling in the way that they engage with you. And so maybe you don't do what they say that you're supposed to do. Maybe you've just made a simple decision about how you want to manage a procedure. Maybe you have an opinion that's not the same. And they're going to turn it around and they're going to say, well, look who the controlling person is. Now, this is such low-lying fruit. It's almost embarrassing to even have to say it. That's classic projection. They see in you what they refuse to acknowledge within themselves. And it's like, oh yeah, that deep down at some level, you like to think at some level they realize that the control factor is there, but rather than thinking, it's probably me. It's like, no, I've got too high and lofty opinion of myself. Can't possibly be me. So when I come across as what you might deem as controlling, it's actually me being helpful, and it's me, trying to set things straight. And so if you don't go along with my demeanor, then that proves that you're a controlling person. And they're when they're the one that's doing the superimposing. So how far do you push back? And you might say, well, maybe I don't have my act together in the way that you want, but you're even worse. You can say that. Not going to get you anywhere. So how do you respond when the narcissist accuses you of being controlling? I'm going to do maybe a couple of things, and don't take this as the only thing, but I might say something. Well, give me some feedback. What are you talking about? And they'll say, well, you did this, you did that, and I didn't like it. And then this is part of the gray rock mentality. My next response is going to be, well, that's certainly your perspective, and I'll give it some consideration. And what are they going to say? And it's like, well, you need to quit it. I can tell you're feeling very strongly about it. I heard you. And just gray rock. I'm not going to argue. That's where you are. And then the rest of the question is, well, I want you to ask, well, am I controlling? And give it some consideration. And if you come up with the answer that says, I don't really think I am, then move on. And then if they want to hold on to a false opinion, which is they're very inclined to do, then they're going to have a false opinion. The bigger issue is, well, what's your opinion? And when your opinion is reasonable and you're good about what you think, then let that be enough. And then again, it goes back into living inside the ambiguity that continues to be there. And just know you're dealing with a very unaware, non-insightful, non-analytical thinking. And so there's no need to try to go bang your head against that brick wall trying to make them understand something they don't understand. Do you see a theme here that we're going with? It's the old don't throw pearls before swine. You give a pig a pearl necklace and they think, oh, that's one more thing to stomp into the mud. That's pretty much the mindset we're talking about here. Okay. Here's another one, and you so wish to rescue other individuals from some of the problems they're having, and that's what this next question is about. This person says, what if you're in love with an enabler and sometimes flying monkey? How is it best to cope with that? And then this person goes on to say, I've been married 35 years and I love my husband. He has clearly shown, though, that the narcissist he is loyal to mean more to him than I do, and more to him than I do. In general, he's a good husband, but when it comes to the narcissist, he justifies them and makes excuses for them or feels sorry for them. So how do you deal with that? Now, I don't know exactly who she's referring to. Does he have some old drinking buddies that he hangs out with, or is it someone in the family that he, just can't break away from? And is there something there that he feels like he's going to gain? Um, in a time like this, let's keep in mind, my guess is this person is probably conflict averse. They probably have some strong avoidant tendencies. And sometimes you have folks like this that say, it's just better to go along to get along. And you need to do that with me. And you're thinking, but I don't want to go along with someone who's very unhealthy. It's like, there's I think it's an old Vince Gill song. They're just good old boys making noise. I'm not running around on you. Just give me one more last chance, before you say we're through. I knew that Vince Gill stuff, did you? But you can bring it to his attention, and I don't think it's wrong for you to do that. But then let's keep in mind that your husband's probably got a lot of fear on the inside, and you can only go so far as in getting inside his mind and help him understand why he fears confrontation, or worst case scenario, he may have some hidden narcissistic tendencies himself, and vicariously they allow him to bring it out. I don't know. But at some point, if you've already had 35 years of this, if you've already had a lot of discussions with him about your discomfort, then what I would do is I would just basically live out my own personal boundaries separately. And we're going to continually hammer on this one theme, and that is a lot of times people say, well, I tried to set boundaries and it didn't work. Boundaries is not for changing the other person. Boundaries is for you. And so he may never change. You may establish it, but it may be that when he does go around with these old buddies or family members or whatever, you may need to let it be known, I'm not going to join you. And I don't mean to be rude, but I'm not terribly interested in hearing stories about what's going on with them when all it is, it's a repetition of their dysfunction. And so let it be known that's where you are. I'm not there with you. And then you did mention that you have other parts of your relationship with him that are good. And let's go to that. Let's keep in mind that narcissism is a pattern on a spectrum. And even those of us who consider ourselves to be pretty healthy, on a scale of 1 to 100, we may be down on the 20% level, which means we have a little bit of it. But if you're that low on it, you probably can catch it pretty quickly and do something about it. These friends or these family members that your husband hangs with, they may be all the way up at the 70 or 80% level. And it may be that your husband is there at the 45% level. There are times when he can come down to where you are, but then there are times when he crosses the line and it becomes more and more the majority. And that's kind of how my mathematic brain thinks on that. And so just know that's part of it. And as long as it doesn't get too outlandish to where he's doing some things that are going to be harmful to you, then okay, there it is. And then if it involves other individuals, they're saying, well, why aren't you going with daddy on this? Or why don't you come to this party over here or whatever? Depending on who it is, but it's okay to say we just don't see eye to eye, and we're not on the same page, as opposed to making excuses. Well, I have a headache, and when you don't, and just it's okay to say, I think differently, because my guess is a lot of folks can see it too. All right, now this is another very interesting one, kind of one of these. What do I do now? This person says his birthday is coming up. I'm assuming this is a narcissistic person that where she's living with or married to, or brother or dad. I don't know. His birthday is coming up. For as many years as I can remember, whatever I did to recognize, celebrate, or enjoy his day has literally blown up in my face. I realize this is a narcissistic tactic now, but I know what he is. What is my best option here? Do I ignore it, or just accept that what I will do will not be appreciated and just try to suck it up? I'm not too keen on the just suck it up, buttercup kind of thing on this particular one. Um, I mean, yeah, it's nice when you have a birthday. Y'all know I had a 70th birthday a couple weeks back. It's nice when people say happy birthday. It's nice when somebody, my wife, was very kind to me, and I had family members very kind to me. We had a very nice time. So yeah, when that happens, it's good. That's assuming that you and that other person are somewhat in sync. But if it's going to just turn into a big, huge blow up, then I might go so far as to saying to this person, hey, your birthday is coming up. It hasn't always, acknowledge it. It hasn't always gone well. You know that, and I know that. Is there anything this year that you feel like you and I could do together so that it could turn out to be something that would be good for each of us? I want to acknowledge your birthday. Put it on him. And then when he says, I don't know, or I don't care, or, well, let's go to dinner, or we can invite these people over, I'm going to put him on notice. If there's any hint that this is not going to go well, then I think from here on out, you can continue to do what you want to do. But if there's any hint that it's going to turn into something ugly like it has in the past, I think I'm going to go ahead and bow out, and I hope you enjoy your time. But I don't want to be a participant in negative circumstances like I have now, and then mean it. This is classic assertiveness and standing up for your dignity. It's like I don't want to say, here, this is my face, slap on it again. I'm not doing that. So and draw him into the planning. In other words, put a little of the responsibility on his shoulders. You're probably not likely to do it, and then put him on notice, and then follow through. If the signs say that we have this nice engagement or party or whatever, and it's not going to go well, either withdraw or drop the plans or whatever. But at some point, it's time to say, I'm standing up for me. I'm standing up for decency. I don't have a problem at all. And if they say I don't like it, it's like, yeah, I know. It's happened many, many times before. This is not a shocker. All right, this next one's a heartbreaker. My husband of 13 years discarded me and our kids like trash. We met when he had nothing. We built everything together. Then a shiny new thing came by. You know what that means. And he blamed me for not being more successful and wealthier as he thinks that he should be. And he said, our kids are ungrateful and he could do better with new kids. That's the heartbreak. I was beyond heartbroken. I never thought I could be okay again. So this is not covert narcissism here. This is just consummate overt narcissism. And this is a man who's thinking it's all about me, baby. Now you say you have kids together. I don't know how many kids you have, but at least two. I'm assuming since you say plural. And at the very least, you'd like to think that he would say, I've got some eyeballs watching me, and I need to make sure that I show them good character because the best way to learn anything is to model it. And so this is what he's modeling. Okay, well, I got this new girlfriend over here, and maybe she can give me some kids that are better than these idiots that you brought into my life. And it's terribly sad. And there's not a lot you can do to make him be any different. If you've been with him 13 years, I'm going to guess that you're in the 40-ish age range, maybe a little bit beyond. And the older you get, the more adulting you've had, and you've got a couple of years of adult living now. Take your circumstances right there that you're describing as an opportunity for some personal inventory. And you might want to look back. Were there any red flags that I saw that I just dismissed? And we're not going to blame you. We're not going to be harsh on you because, virtually every one of us, especially in our younger years, but sometimes even as you age, can look back and think there were some signs there. I didn't act upon them. I just kind of let it pass. Are there any red flags that you had there? What vulnerabilities do you have? Did that person swoon you and win you over with sweet talk and behavior and all of that and just make it look good? Was there financial security that you were able to have that you might not have had otherwise? And you want to just take that personal inventory and say, if I can't do anything about who he is, keep in mind that narcissists are externally based in their problem solving. I got to get people out there, circumstances out there to suit me. I want you to go inside. Well, what does this tell me? And given the fact that I've had difficult circumstances, how can I be a learning person? And there are many individuals, many that I have met uh, gladly, I say, who've had a similar kind of circumstance where they've had to kind of regroup and move on from a narcissist that just brought havoc. And they've done that personal inventory kind of thing. And it's like, well, if the narcissist isn't going to grow, then I'm going to take my cues and say, yeah, and that's where it leads. And I'm going to take my cues and say, well, I'm going to be a person of growth, insight, and wisdom. That's what I stand for. And this will not have been completely wasted. And then with those little kids, as they grow up and they talk about daddy, you've got a real delicate line that you have to maintain because you don't want to diss him too much. You want to have a certain amount of honesty, obviously, but keep in mind, you're not doing kids a favor, particularly when they're 8 years old, talking about how sorry of an excuse of a human being their daddy is. But you can simply say things like, your dad and I, one of the reasons we split is because we don't think alike. And when you're with me, here's what I'd like for us to emphasize. Notice that I'm putting it on your relationship with him. And let's make sure that we emphasize things like responsibility, being a person of your word, and treating people with decency and kindness. Let's give emphasis to that, and teach them in that kind of way. We go back to that discussion I had a few minutes ago about trained incompetence. I'm going to teach them to be competent based on what we communally have had to work through. So these are some good things for us to hold on to. I'm hoping that this gives you some things to think about. This kind of lets you know these questions that we have. We're going to wrap up now. But these questions that you've sent in make you realize, you're not alone. You may not have exactly the same circumstances as the people that have written in, but it's like, well, I've got mine too. And I'm hoping you can decide that you're going to join all the rest of us on Team Healthy. Says we're going to stand for dignity, respect, and civility. That's what DRC, Dr. C stands for. And when I see something that's wrong, rather than pushing against it and making them try to change when they're not going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, somebody in this equation needs to step forward in the healthier direction. I gladly volunteer for that, and that's where we're going to go. So, guys, send more questions to me. And I always appreciate hearing from you. I really do. Thank you for letting me be on your path with you. And I hope you have a good rest of the week. I'll see you next time. Bye.